The fact that J.D. Vance could not admit that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election is, quite frankly, all we're going to remember from the vice presidential debate. Here's the fundamental question to ask anyone who aligns with Donald Trump. Did he lose in 2020?
He is still saying he didn't lose the election. I would just ask that. Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
J.D. Vance was, quite honestly, a prolific and an excellent liar. He told so many lies that when he was finally fact-checked, he actually kind of lost his composure. I'll get to that clip in a moment. But what J.D. Vance could not handle was a very direct, straightforward question, and Tim Walz delivered it brilliantly.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future.
That is a damning non-answer.
That's all we're going to remember from this debate, because it's the big lie. It's 100% what is driving MAGA right now. And J.D. Vance couldn't bring himself to tell the truth in this moment. Why? Because if he told the truth, Donald Trump would replace him. It doesn't matter how close we are to the election. It doesn't matter. Donald Trump's ego is what's preeminent. That's all that matters. And Tim Walz unpacked that immediately afterwards, saying that there's not going to be a firewall. If J.D. Vance doesn't have the temerity, I'll put it like that, to stand up to Donald Trump around something as obvious as the fact that he lost the 2020 election, then J.D. Vance is not going to have the nerve to stand up to Donald Trump when he orders the troops to open fire on American citizens that are protesting. They counted Tim Walz out. By they, I mean all of MAGA, from J.D. Vance on stage, who had this real smug demeanor. He knew he was winning. And in fact, let's keep it 100. In the first half, Tim Walz was losing. He was down. And it was after halftime that Coach got himself together. He composed himself and he looked for a moment. And that moment provided itself in two different places, but primarily around January 6th. I knew that there was a chance for him to get back into the fight. J.D. Vance presented so well, so polished. He really does come off as a person who had a professional career as a publicist, as a PR relations expert, someone who didn't really go into battle, but stood behind a camera with a pen and took notes. He came off as polished as someone who wears eyeliner. He came off as a prolific professional politician. And this really speaks to a problem in American politics. People are so impressed with the fact that J.D. Vance can lie prolifically, right? He lies with a smile. He lies with, honestly, he weaves together his lies so well that it's almost hard to find a place to really debunk the lies. But Tim Walz nailed him.
Did he lose the 2020 election?
Tim, I'm focused on the future. Did Kamala Harris censor Americans from speaking their mind in the wake of the 2020 COVID situation?
That is a damning non-answer.
They want to have the right to lie. And this is what he's standing on having the right to lie to Americans, and considers that if we censor, or rather if we take away this open-ended right to lie and to spread misinformation. Twitter is a misinformation machine. MAGA is a misinformation machine. If we make policies that makes it either more difficult or make it illegal to spread misinformation, they crumble. And this is what he's standing on. In the face of being asked about the big lie, the very best that J.D. Vance could do was to come back and talk about censorship. The kryptonite for MAGA is the truth.
Just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status, temporary protected status.
Well, Margaret, but
thank you, Senator. We have so much to get to.
Margaret, I think it's important because
we're going to turn out of the economy. Thank you,
Margaret. The rules were that you guys weren't going to fact check, and since you're fact checking me, I think it's important to say what's actually going on.
That moment right there really tells you what these people are all about. They cannot stand in an environment where truth prevails. They cannot stand in an environment where objective truths can reign. They can't. They've created the perfect environment for lies and misinformation. And if you take them out of that environment, they fall apart because how dare you? Megyn Kelly said, F you, CBS. How dare you fact check? I'm like, really, Megyn Kelly? You're ostensibly a journalist? You're that enraged by the fact that journalists did what journalists do, or at least they're supposed to do, which is to get the truth out there, to fact check liars. Understand the foundation of MAGA is lies. And they understand that the truth betrays their opportunity for power. Objective reality betrays their ability to obtain and maintain power. Democracy itself betrays their ability to obtain and maintain power. And so, what do they say now? Get rid of democracy. And they have a most effective, efficient communicator in JD Vance. He is a most prolific liar and communicator. JD Vance has gone from knowing the true danger that Donald Trump is to being the handmaiden for Donald Trump, because JD Vance does not have a soul. He is a soulless, empty suit, willing to do anything he can to get power. So this MAGA misinformation machine, they're ready to get rid of Donald Trump because he's a moron. COVID-19 has blasted away the remaining neurons that were firing in Donald Trump's brain. He was already shortcoming in terms of his intelligence, but now he just can't string together a coherent sentence to save his life. But they have JD Vance, and JD Vance doesn't have any morals. He has no integrity. And he's willing to say and do anything he can for power. And so now we are faced with a real serious threat. We're faced with the threat of an efficient Donald Trump, JD Vance, a prolific Donald Trump, JD Vance, an intelligent version of Donald Trump, JD Vance. And what's more, JD Vance is subservient to money and power because he doesn't come from money and power. Donald Trump carried the ego of really thinking he was better than everybody, even other billionaires. Not JD Vance. JD Vance needs that money. JD Vance needs the money of Peter Thiel. He needs the money of Elon Musk. He admires it. And so now you have an empty suit who's willing to betray his own beliefs, willing to betray his own community, willing to betray his own sense of morality, if he even had such. And he's willing to do so for the pat on the head from the richest people in the world. Folks, we're in danger.